When it comes to Thomas home media releases, there aren't too many of them that have very interesting backstories. Most of them exist simply just to release new episodes, celebrate a holiday, or just to exist and take up space in a landfill. But the releases that do have backstories are very interesting, and New Friends for Thomas is definitely one of those releases. So let's talk about it. Thomas and the Magic Railroad. It came, it went, I made a video on it. After the 6th season of the series, as well as that disaster of a film, Alec Baldwin, who had narrated seasons 5 and 6 and starred in the film, would end up completely leaving the series with no one to take his place as the narrator. This was only an issue in the US though, as the UK still had Michael Angelis as their narrator, who had been narrating Thomas since season 3 and was doing just fine. Even after he had been dropped from appearing in Magic Railroad, he had no plans of leaving. However, no one knew who the US narrator would be, which was a problem as there was a new quota of having a new season of Thomas every year. And so 2003 came and went, and season 7 had pretty much fully aired in the UK. And what did the US get in terms of season 7 content? Not a zip, zero, zilch. Kirby would spend their 2003 putting out the rest of season 6, and I guess Hit Entertainment was just trying to find a narrator for season 7. But I guess after a long time of searching and finding absolutely nobody, they just decided to have Angelis, the UK narrator, narrate a US release. And it was this decision that would lead to one of the most unique Thomas home media releases out there. New Friends for Thomas and Other Adventures was released on VHS and DVD on March 16, 2004. It was later re-released by Lionsgate in 2009 as both a standalone DVD and as part of a double feature with Spills and Chills, because these two DVDs put together makes total sense. The double feature would later be re-released by Universal in 2015. To this day, this is the only US home media release to feature Michael Angelis as the narrator. But here's the interesting thing, because they didn't just put his UK narrations of the episode on the release and call it a day, they actually had Angelis re-record all of the episodes to feature US terms like freight cars and Sir Topham Hatt. If you want to hear more about that, definitely check out Thomas Fan 261's documentary on the release, as it's pretty interesting and very well made. And as you can tell by both the title and this gorgeous cover art, seriously, it's like every cover by Kirby from this era just was amazing. This DVD contains episodes focused on new characters that appeared in seasons 6 and 7, and I already know what the comment section is going to look like. But I think that's enough background knowledge. Let's actually see what's on the release. This is my review of New Friends for Thomas. The first episode on the release is Gordon and Spencer, an episode that's actually pretty good. As opposed to season 6, which is the literal definition of a mixed bag, season 7 is actually pretty consistent in terms of having good episodes, and this one is no exception. I think the idea of giving Gordon an actual rival, that being Spencer, is actually a really good idea. On top of that, Spencer is just a great character with a personality and design that I absolutely love. Not to mention, the voice that Angelis gives him is just perfect.
Who cares?
Also, this is kind of unrelated, but I was in a redub of this episode, which was done by Crazy Loco Fan. I'll put the link in the description if anyone's curious to check it out. But yeah, Gordon and Spencer is a pretty good start to this release. Up next is Emily's New Coaches, which, yep, it's definitely an episode in the series. Apparently some people just really don't like this episode, which I kind of understand. I think Emily is a character that has a lovely design and pretty good personality. Although that's not going to last very long. One thing I don't like about this episode is how everybody just got really mad at her for pulling Annie and Clarabelle. Like, yeah, they're Thomas's coaches and she wasn't supposed to take them, but I don't think being absolutely pissed at her is an appropriate reaction, especially when this is your first time ever seeing someone. Also, for some reason, Angelis just sounds kind of bored narrating this episode, and I know I'm not the first person to point this out.
It gives me great pleasure to present you with 2 new coaches.
Aside from Emily herself in this season and this season only, and the fantastic score from Mike O'Donnell and Junior Campbell, this episode isn't very good. The Spotless Record, the episode that introduced my favorite character from season 7, Arthur. I mean, just look at him. The episode itself isn't too bad, although there are some scenes where the narration feels a little rushed in my opinion. I'm also not really a fan of how quiet the crash is in this scene. Like, this just feels wrong. I know this was because of some controversy that sparked near the release of season 6, but Come on, the crashes are the best part of Thomas, and you're just gonna tone it down like that? Also, I find it kind of hard to believe that an engine is even capable of having a spotless record. Like, there's no way that Arthur hasn't made at least one mistake in his entire working life. Aside from those admittedly very minor gripes, this is a fine episode. Better than Emily's New Coaches, that's for sure. Peace and Quiet is alright, I guess. Murdoch isn't really anything to write home about, and is probably my least favorite character from Season 7. His personality is that he's this big engine who only wants peace and quiet. Well, at least the title isn't lying. He's supposed to be this gentle giant type character, but he doesn't really do much for me to care about him. And as for the episode itself, I mean, it's alright, I guess. It's not very eventful, but it's passable. Alright, the second to last episode on the release is Jack Jumps In, which I already reviewed in a previous short. This is part of a series that I tried making a while back where I would review random Thomas episodes in about a minute and a half. The first episode in the series was Jack Jumps In. Should I keep making those shorts? Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of them. But anyways, I'm just going to recap what I said in that short in this video. This episode is a fantastic pilot to the Jack in the Pack series that would eventually come, and I think all of the characters are really cool. The soundtrack is lovely, and honestly, any dub you watch of this episode is great, even the Baldwin one. It's got a pretty decent moral as well, and is definitely one of the highlights of Season 6. In my opinion, very good episode. And now we've made it to the final episode on the release, and oh look, it's another episode I reviewed in a previous video. A Friend in Need is an episode that I reviewed less than a month ago, and my thoughts on it haven't changed in the slightest. Once again, every dub of this episode is really good, and the soundtrack is wonderful. This episode has a lot more action than the last one, and it's awesome. I don't have too much else to say about this episode other than it's very good and definitely better than Jack Jumps In. And now it's time for the song on the release, which is 5 new engines in the shed, which really should be called 3 new engines plus 2 from Season 6. This release introduced Spencer, and he's not even in the video for the song. And there's also Fergus, who I guess they just forgot about entirely because he doesn't appear on this release once. Period. You literally had 5 new engines to put in the shed, and you don't even put 2 of them on the shed and just replace them with 2 engines that had already appeared. What was the point of this? The song itself is alright though, it's nothing to write home about, but it makes sense for the release. Season 7 has some really good songs and then some songs that are just alright. This is definitely one of the alright ones, but it's got a good instrumental at least. Which reminds me, this instrumental has something very interesting.
Morning sunshine, brand new day, busy day for the railway.
A huge engine rocketed by.
I couldn't even make this shit up if I wanted to. And so that was New Friends for Thomas. Overall, this is a very nice release. Some great episodes from Season 7 and some very nice character introductions on here. While definitely not the best Season 7 release, it definitely still holds up. And with it being the only DVD that Michelangelos narrated in the US, by default it just feels like a very special release. But I want to know what your thoughts are on this release. Let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, I would highly recommend leaving a like and subscribing to the channel for more content like this. And with that out of the way, I'll see you guys around. Peace.